Welcome. Welcome, everyone. It's Angelo Robles. If you're on social media, welcome to at Family Office, a member. Appreciate you at my private community, SFO continuity, or broadly just happen to stumble along. I am here live at 7 o'clock on a Monday to begin the week. And there's been a subject. I know you all hear me talk about broadly family offices and geopolitics, macroeconomics, investing, and, well, of course, AI. But my true love, going back a long time, is really practice management, operational excellence. And I've been such a devotee of Peter Drucker and certainly others for a long, long time. So it's with great pleasure. There's so many incredibly talented people on LinkedIn and social media in the family office world that I get to follow them. I get to hear what's pertinent and get their thoughts. And it's an opportunity for me to kind of, let me build upon that. So a couple of months ago, I came upon really an excellent question and starting point in a LinkedIn post by a thought leader. I'll give the context and explain all that in a second. And it really got me thinking like, wow, maybe I really need to rethink, even though I've been in the community for decades, even some of my thoughts on this. So as opposed to just firing off a commentary, and many people did such a great job on that. I learned so much, and I do appreciate you. But it gave me an opportunity to give it some more thought. I was wrapping up some events. I had to go to LA, and on the plane back from LA, put together a more organized structure and even rethink some of the things that I've been doing and often for decades, not only in my own company. And by the way, this absolutely is applicable in any sort of family office and really any company that employs people and looks to get excellence out of an organization where often it's a little opaque and there's not clarity in terms of, well, we'll get to best practices, not one of my favorite words, especially in something like the single family office community. But I promise you, no matter who you are, you will get value out of this. So I actually put some structure. I got some show notes here. I want to make sure that I don't forget anything. And I probably put as much time into this as I have in really anything that I've done in at least the relatively recent past, so to speak. So on that note, without really much further ado, I think it would be a good time to begin. So for the newer folks in the audience, welcome. I'm Angelo Robles. And I think the question that I'm looking for, even more succinct than my title, what does a truly high-performing family office actually look like? So Brian C. Adams on LinkedIn, posted that question on LinkedIn maybe about 5-6 weeks ago, and it lit up. For those of you that don't know Brian, he's on the board of Siren Partners, a family office, co-founder of Fort Zella, a global network of family office professionals, host the Mac podcast, and co-founded Somas 22, connecting SFOs through curated events. He's a big figure in the industry. Brian operates in this world, and his question hit a nerve because it's the right question, kind of at the right time. And I don't know if there was really any one satisfying answer that are limited by a LinkedIn post. So luckily, I get to give more context here. Here's what came up in the discussion, and I want to walk through it because it sets up, I believe, everything that I have to say. Brian pointed out there's a marked increase in demand, so to speak, for family office professionals who have actually seen kind of what great looks like inside other operations and family offices. Now, true, that's a real market signal, but the problem, and I guess multiple people kind of flagged it, is that most principals, and I could be a little broad in that concept of principles, they may not have a real reference point for excellence. They've only seen kind of what they've seen. You can't optimize towards a standard that you never experienced. So comments among certainly some big figures and thought leaders in the community. One included asking family offices to kind of rate themselves 1 to 10 across governance, operations, technology, investments, talent. And his point was the gap between where you are and where you want to be. That's where I believe his words, the real work lives. And sure, that is enormous. That is correct. And the numbers kind of backed it up. Someone pointed out that maybe 10% of family offices, and maybe this applies to businesses broadly, have truly durable operations or governance. 10% and even fewer have the structures in place for an orderly transition when, in this case, a principal moves on or passes away. That's really, in the world of the family office, that's not just an operational gap, that's an existential one and happens all the time around the world every day. Now, one commentator reframed the whole thing in a way that I thought was sharp. The person said the question is slightly misframed. Seeing great is useful, but it may not be the scarce skill. Most high performing family offices are highly, I'll go with the word context specific. What works inside one ecosystem, well, it may not transfer that easily. The real gap is people who could take something organically built and systemically engineer it into something more institutional: governance, sequencing, decision rights, not observation per se, but really more maybe true transformation. And that's almost never what kind of gets screened. And it's hard, I guess you could say, in the hiring process. And we're gonna jump into all this. Now, all of this is good, maybe very good. I don't really have any disagreements with any of it. It was very, very helpful to me. Here's what I do think, and again, I got the platform to have greater context than whatever, 200 characters. I get it. Here's what I think everyone's missing, and here's where I kind of want to take the conversation. All of that commentary, benchmarking, scorecards, effectively best practices, and even rating yourself 1 to 10, it's answering, sure, part of the question, but more so from the outside in. What does a high performing family office look like? Well, it treats the family office like a machine you can score and optimize. And sometimes that works. It provides some level of quantitative analysis, sure, but better governance, tighter operations, upgraded technology, tune the dials, and you get excellence. And perhaps sometimes you could. But usually, I don't think it works quite that easily. I think you have to start, I can make the point, really somewhere else entirely. And this is where I want to kind of draw the line, because this is foundational to how I think about everything within the family office world. At the heart of it, I've learned a couple of years ago, didn't come organically, that I am, or needed to be, a first principles thinker, not necessarily a best practices thinker. There is a fundamental difference, and most of the industry, I don't think they really understand it. Best practices, which are valuable, just not as valuable as first principles. Best practices ask, what are other family offices doing? First principles, what must be true for this family? Best practices could import someone else's solution. First principles, build your own effectively from the ground up, from the actual goals, constraints, actual realities specific to that family, and they're all different. Best practices are kind of borrowed where first principles are built. Now, here's the problem that I hinted at. Every family is, of course, different. Every family office is different. Different wealth origins, different expectations, goals, geographies, different family dynamics, generational complexities, different risk profiles. I mean, come on, we could go on and on. Different values, different aspirations. So when you import a best practices from another office, you're importing someone else's answer to someone else's question. It might fit, don't get me wrong, but it usually doesn't fit perfectly. And you won't know the difference, well, on some things until much later, or it fails under pressure. First principles thinking means you strip away every assumption and ask, what is this family office actually for? Not what does it do? There's a difference there. What is it for? What are the goals? It's kind of important. The aspirations, the non-negotiable directives of the family, and is the office, its structure, its people, its culture, its daily rhythm actually to serve really those directives, or in some ways in service to its own inertia, I would state, within the family office world. So, because here's what I've seen across multiple decades inside these ecosystems. Most family offices are kind of, I would describe as really inherited, not truly designed. They're accumulated, but not really interrogated. They do what they do because, well, maybe they've always done it. And nobody stops to ask from a first principles perspective, breaking things down to their barest essence, really from the ground up. Does this still even make sense? Does it serve the family? And does it really still belong? Now, earlier on, I mentioned the one and only Peter Drucker, the world's greatest management consultant of all time. He had a version of this. I've made my own because it applies really to every family office that I've worked with. If we weren't already doing this, knowing what we now know, would we even go into it or have a different approach? That question is kind of a grenade, because answering it honestly means admitting that a significant portion of what happens within whatever, the business, the family office, is legacy behavior. It exists simply because it existed yesterday. Let me give you the brutal version. The first of kind of 10 brutal questions from my family office playbook that my members get. If your family office vanished tomorrow, what would the family actually lose? And be specific, not just expertise. Come on, it's LinkedIn theater. Not relationships, those belong to people, not entities. If the honest answer is meeting notes and vendor management, you're sometimes running a multi-million, billion-dollar kind of secretary dressed up as strategic infrastructure. Can your office manufacture asymmetric opportunities, or does it process only what Morgan Stanley, whatever, sends over? Now, that's at least a first principles starting point. Purpose, clarity of vision. And here's my distillation, so to speak, of, I guess you could say, we could at least throw it out there, what that mission could be. A family office exists to systematically develop the capability of a family to create value across the generations. Everything else, think about it. Really, as much as I love investments, investment management, and I love taxes too, tax optimization, administration support, is in service of that mission, or does it really belong? And preservation, by the way, sorry, just me, it's a method. That's not a mission. Methods masquerading as missions produce activity without accomplishment, to me. If your mission statement could apply equally to a bank trust department, you don't really have a mission. You have more of a commodity service. Now, once you have the clarity, everything follows about building the machine. I have a bit of a cold, pardon me, that serves it. And this is where, to me, the conversation about high performing actually gets interesting, because most people jump straight to process. I get it. I used to do that too, and skip the thing that matters most. Well, even in today's world of incredible technology, that is, you know what? Of course, the people. People, for now, are number one. They always have been number one. There are no statues to committees, only amazing individuals. One amazing person in something like a single family office could change everything. And here's something I say constantly that people nod at and completely fail to internalize, and sometimes even outright disagree. And that's okay. I don't claim to have all the answers. Superstars are actually more valuable than they seem. If a family office wants to be awesome, do one thing really good: hire incredible people. So everyone talks about talent. I think few industries, businesses, family offices really invest seriously in structuring aggressively in identifying, recruiting, empowering, and retaining genuinely exceptional people, not just competent. I want my family office to be incredible, not just experienced. That could be a negative, actually. Exceptional people, the kind of person who walks into a situation and the entire velocity of the operation changes. But hiring superstars is really still half of it. The other half, and this is chronically underappreciated, is removing bottlenecks for the people responsible for the execution. If you have an A++ player spending 40% of their energy navigating internal friction, politics, unclear decision rights committees that deliberate too long without deciding, you don't really have an A player that's at least let loose. You have a frustrated person generating 60% of their potential, maybe, who is probably already looking, because they have optionality if they're that good, for an exit. And in that example, they probably should leave, because you designed a system that, rather bluntly, I'm everyone's favorite person, aren't I? Like, that doesn't deserve them. Which brings me to something that connects directly. And this is where, like, I'm really starting to get fired up. I know many of you think I started a little too slow and relaxed. I mean, my cold has me a little bit under. But let me describe a scene that plays out in family offices everywhere, every single week. You all would recognize it from within the industry. I don't know, a meeting, governance, investment committee, operational overview. It really doesn't matter. It goes an hour, people talk, ideas are shared, maybe even good ideas. And then it ends with the most dangerous sentence. And Drucker used to talk about this as well in organizational life. Great session. Let's pick this up next week. There's no owner to the idea, no accountability, and no deadline. No decision has truly been made. The meeting happened. Everyone goes back to their desk feeling productive, and effectively nothing really changes. The people who run those meetings, they love the process. They angle for the next role, kind of. They pound their chest, they grade themselves some activity, not really true outcomes. They might be good bureaucrats. There might even be a role for them if they could adapt some things. And here's the hard truth. If you don't, I mean, really being hard, get rid of them, because probably most won't change. Nobody in your organization believes you're serious about true excellence. Nobody. Your best people watch these meetings happen, watch the same conversations recycled every week after week after week with no real resolution. And they conclude correctly that this organization values comfort, which is what most family offices do. I'm sorry. And they leave. And you're left with more bureaucrats who may be relatively smart, ethical, and well-meaning, but you don't have excellence. And you wonder why the family office, the business, it doesn't matter. Could be an MFO, could be anything, often feels sluggish. A decision has not truly been made, Drucker again, until people know the name of the person accountable for carrying it out, the deadline, who's affected and needs to know. It's actually not that hard. That's when a decision is real. Everything before that is kind of conversation, pretending to be progress. And come on, most family office governance is simply performance art. Boards that don't decide, committees that don't commit, meeting minutes that document avoidance dressed as further analysis, right? Real governance, how I'm seeing it here, it should kill ambiguity, compress cycles in time, and remove excuses. If your governance can't answer a $10 million question in 10 days. Like, you don't have governance, you have, I don't know, like organizational scar tissue. Single point accountability with clear decision rights. Committees advise, sure, but individuals decide. Systems learn, and that's a model that maybe for some, it depends, they're all different, could work very, very well. And this connects to something deeper, something structural that I think explains why, come on, we all know this, why so many family offices plateau. Okay, I'm going to get on the soapbox. Professional managers, by their nature, by their training, by their incentive structures, optimize for risk management, not opportunity creation. Institutional processes produce institutional mediocrity. Challenge me on that. Go for it. I want to learn. Professional incentives align with stability, not with real transformation. And the way the world is now, come on. And here's the phrase everyone hides behind: the so-called best practices. We follow best practices. We benchmark against best practices. We implement best practices. Let me tell you, okay, we're going to get right to it. Let me tell you what best practices actually are. Best practices, kind of by definition, are average practices. Think about it. Best practices are what the middle of the distribution is doing. They're the codification of average. If you're aspiring to best practices, you're aspiring, I think, to be average. I don't want you to be average. I want you to be awesome. I think you could be. What? With average, with nicer furniture and a higher fee structure? That is the ceiling you set yourself up for. And sadly, I'm not even thinking that you're realizing it. Who are you best practicing against? Again, every family could be so different. I gave some examples earlier of a variety of different goals, generations in the family, expectations, timelines, etc. Do you really understand excellence from very good to mediocre to bad? Suppose you're benchmarking against, again, average to bad. Or even if you're going against good, is that good enough? I think we don't need to make this more complicated. Benchmarking and best practices serve a purpose. They are just not effectively, truly excellence in your people. First principles thinking, removing bottlenecks. And we're going to talk about a maniacal thinking and almost a process around excellence that I just think that a lot of family offices, if they had it early on, they just don't have it now, for sure. Now, I'm not saying ignore fundamentals. I mean, come on, I wrote an 850 question playbook, my family office playbook on them. You have to master the basics, sure. But if best practices are where your ambition ends, you built a well-organized museum. Congratulations. And the families who built the wealth that funds your family office, they didn't build it by following best practices. They built it probably by breaking them. Here's my alternative hypotheses. The most effective family offices aren't professionally managed. They're systematically, actually entrepreneurial. They don't hire managers, they develop builders, actually. Think about it. The families who built the wealth, the first generation, they weren't managers, they were entrepreneurs. They took risk, they created value. They operated with urgency and conviction. And somewhere in the transition from wealth creation to effectively wealth management, and disagree with me, it's okay. I don't have all the answers, and every family is different. They went from wealth creation to wealth management. The builder energy got replaced by so-called professionalism, by over-reliance on processes, by committees, and by all the apparatuses of comfort and bureaucracy. Managing risk kind of produces conservatism. Building judgment, that's what produces wisdom. How about that? Managing portfolios produces returns. building people within the family produces continuing dynasties. The question isn't whether your family office is well managed. The question is whether it's building anything, anything at all, or simply just maintaining for today, for this year, for next year, but not really building. Now, I want to be honest about something. The measurement obsessed culture, okay, I guess another hot take, probably doesn't want to hear. Everyone says we measure what matters, but here's the trap. You will manage what you measure, whether it matters or not. That means the act of measurement itself drives behavior. It shapes what your people optimize for. So, are you measuring family cohesion as rigorously as portfolio returns? Probably not. I've seen families with spectacular investment performance who are falling apart from the inside. Portfolios up, 40%. Family hasn't had a meaningful conversation in 3 years. Like, is that really going to be a high performing family office? Can you quantify next generation capability development? Not just engagement, that's not good enough. Not a newsletter and a seat at the annual meeting, not going to cut it. Capability. Can the next generation actually run this? Have you built the systems to develop that, effectively the capacity? Or, like, one, do you even care? And two, do you just hope, they're smart, they're educated, that it just happens? Because I've said a family office exists to develop the capability of a family to create value across the generations. If nobody is systematically building that capability in the rising generation, and don't just assume it's going to be the principal or the family, the mission statement effectively is just kind of decoration. What critical results are you achieving that you're not measuring? What are you measuring that's driving behavior contrary to your mission? Now, here's the other side. I love me SOPs, standard operating procedures, and systems. I wrote hundreds of pages on them. SOPs turn institutional knowledge into institutional assets. Most family offices, they have no real systems. They have habits, personalities, and hope. When someone leaves, knowledge too often walks out the door. When a crisis hits, chaos. Build systems that work when people fail. Well, kind of because they will. But sure, what makes it a single family office unique, some outcomes can't be just dashboarded. Some of the most important things the family office does, developing judgment, building cohesion, creating culture, are more qualitative. They're felt, so to speak, before they're measured. The high-performing family office really holds both. Yeah, I know this is not always easy. Both realities. Rigorous measurement of what can and should be measured, and deep awareness of what matters simply beyond the measurement. Strategy is capability building, and everything else really is tactics. Now, come on, how could I be half an hour in talking about family offices and practice management? And in today's world, of course, I have to give at least a little bit of love and give you examples in terms of with AI. Now, I need to say something directly because I think the family office industry is completely sleepwalking past the single biggest operational shift in our lifetimes. I said earlier that the high-performing family office is about purpose, people, and accountability, and building capability. All of that is true. And all of it can now be amplified or exposed by, AI. Because AI doesn't just make good family offices better and faster. It makes the gap between the excellent And the mediocre in today's world, permanent. The high performing family office uses AI to create massive operational advantages. No, not incremental improvement, massive structural advantages that the family offices who wait probably will never close. No, that's not hype. That's compound interest applied to operational capability. Early movers, your mindset and the compounding every day, every quarter, and the gap often doesn't narrow over time. It's likely just going to widen. So I told a story this weekend on my trip to LA and Milken that two 80-plus-year-old deca billionaires who build empires in private equity over 40 years spend 2 hours a day with AI. They don't need another advantage. That's the point. The people who least need an edge are the ones taking it most seriously. That is the tell. And a principal executive who's 50 years old with decades of consequential decisions ahead of them probably isn't having this incredible resource that they're using yet, like the two decabillionaire 80-year-olds are. They have to answer the question that most of their, not many, but there's some very forward, future thinking peers effectively have. Many of you have seen some of the clips from Ken Griffin, the iconic hedge fund manager, Citadel. God knows what he's worth, probably above 100 billion. He basically said, oh boy, what sophisticated use of AI and AI agents is doing and disrupting his company, PhDs, people and talent, at least augmenting them to do much more decisive, faster work. We just have to face realities. Things are changing. And family offices have been way too slow. And I know I've been very much on the forefront of this, but I still think it's something that needs to be explained with a sense of passion and getting you to get off your butt and take action. Now, here's what AI actually changes inside a high-performing family office. Imagine the right people empowered by AI. Oh my God, they become devastating. Not incrementally better, I really think devastating. The bottlenecks we spoke about, AI will dissolve half of them. The SOPs, AI makes them living systems that update themselves, not binders collecting dust. The institutional knowledge that walks out the door when someone leaves, AI captures it and makes it permanent, searchable, compounding. And a knowledge base where you ask a question and get the answer with source documents, not, well, I don't know, ask David, Peter, whatever. They remember. The measurement problem that we just spoke about. AI surfaces what you even weren't tracking. It monitors what humans miss because humans sleep. And AI, depending on how you set it up and if you know what you're doing, doesn't. Portfolio risk briefings that used to be used by quarterly and probably stale, now daily, automatic on your phone before that 7 o'clock cup of coffee. Geopolitical shifts mapped to your actual holdings in real time, your family's entire decision history, every rationale, every outcome captured, and you can navigate it by the rising generation as a learning point for them as well. And when things go wrong and people go out, it creates a framework for the family office. Now, here's the practical discipline that I want everyone, I'll give you a tip, should start right now. Dedicate like 72 hours. Write down everything that you do and your team does, every task, every meeting, every email, every decision. Then feed that, if you know what you're doing on prompting, to properly structured AI and ask what could be automated, what could be eliminated, what could simply be enhanced and better. Where is human time being wasted on work that really no longer creates value? Most people are often shocked by the answer. That exercise, 3 days of an honest audit, could transform how you think about the operation. Subscribe to granola. No, it's not a cereal. It's great for meetings because it records everything. And again, that gives you greater context and institutional memory and the capability of enhancing workflows. So stop asking AI just to validate you. How about you ask it to break you? Run your next deal through a devil's advocate mode. Make it attack your assumptions across multiple dimensions: flawed assumptions, execution risk, human reality, kind of the fatal flaw. If AI can't break your thesis, well, it might actually be good. If it can, and it usually can, maybe, just maybe, you avoided very cost effectively a expensive mistake. Don't let arrogance and ego get in your way. Underlying that is ignorance and fear. That's not going to be good for you, the family office, and certainly not your continuing career in the community. The family office built for the last century, to me, administered complexity. The high performing family office built in this century, last couple of years, commands intelligence, anticipating threats before they surface, surfacing opportunities before they're visible, and capturing an important one here that I stated: the judgment that took a lifetime to build, so it outlasts the person who built it. AI doesn't necessarily replace the people. It doesn't replace the judgment. It doesn't replace the relationships. I understand that. It amplifies all of it in a way that was science fiction 3.5 years ago. ChatGPT, November 2022, only 3.5 years old. And it's absolutely operational reality now. The four things that will cost, as I said, a family office more than any bad deal ever could: resistance, arrogance, ego, and fear. Don't let those be the reason your family office falls behind families who moved when it mattered. So let me crystallize something I said today, kind of in one sentence. The families who will dominate now and the next era, to me, they share three traits. A maniacal, I used that word earlier. Now we're going to put it together. A maniacal sense of urgency. You're not urgent enough. You're too slow. First principles thinking. And how about an obsessive focus on bottlenecks? Get rid of them. That's it. Urgency. Because families who moved slowly lose to the ones who don't. And the compound interest applies to operational capacity the same way that it applies to the metrics we know on compounding in capital. First principles, because borrowed answers to borrowed questions always fail in time under pressure. And every family's reality is different. And bottlenecks, because optimizing anything other than the primary constraint is a waste of time. And the discipline to identify and destroy the biggest bottlenecks every day, every single week, is what separates the family offices that perform to excellence and ones that don't. I mean, they just kind of persist. Everything I talked about today: purpose, people, accountability, builders over managers, systems, AI, it kind of all maps it back to kind of those three traits. I guess it took me a while to get to the real zingers, right? Now, Brian, who I noted, asked what a truly high-performing family office looks like. I've been answering that question for about 30 or 40 minutes now. A purpose, people, accountability, like I noted, builders over managers, systems that compound. AI as infrastructure, as sovereign knowledge. All of it matters. But let me give you the answer that perhaps for some of you, as my cold is killing me, that you'll actually remember. Forget what it looks like. Let me tell you what it feels like, because that's what separates the family offices that are truly excellent from the ones that kind of just look expensive. You walk through the door and you kind of feel it immediately before anyone says a word, before you see a single dashboard or even read a single report. You just kind of feel it. You know why? It's like being dropped into a zone of shocking competence. Sit on that phrase a little bit. Don't you want your entity, your family office to be shockingly competent? I think it's within reach. No, not just buttoned up. That's not good enough. Not just well run, not professional. A shocking competence. As in, you walk in and the level of clarity, the speed of decision making, the precision of execution, and the quality of the people, it's actually shocking. And damn it, excellence, and they're paid incredibly well. Otherwise, you're going to have effectively a mediocre family office. Pay your people for excellence, or don't bother to have a family office. You're wasting your time. It's a level that most people and organizations maybe were never held accountable to. They might even have it in them. But once they felt it, you never go back to mediocre. You don't pretend like you don't know the difference. Every person knows their role, not their title, their role, the specific value that they create, the specific outcomes that they own. You sit in a meeting, it has an answer, a deadline, accountability, not as an aspiration, but a real, unlike what we said earlier with meetings, structural reality. Decisions get made and one person's name, okay, maybe two sometimes, is on them. You ask why any process exists, and anyone in the room can tell you the actual reason connected to the actual mission. Nobody says because we've always done it. That's unacceptable. That answer should not survive in the type of environment that we're talking about. In today's world, come on, information moves fast. Decisions are crisp. And culture, that invisible thing you feel the second that you walk through the door, says one thing: we are here to be excellent. Not comfortable, not okay, not impressive looking, excellent. And if that's not why you're here, then this entity, this company, this foundation, this family office, like how is that then a good fit for you? You're not a good fit for it. That is the standard. And that's why I'm talking about a real, and why I put so much time into this and wrote it over and over and over again, and how to restructure some of my thinking. This is a high-performing family office. And if what I described sounds aspirational, maybe rather than familiar, if you're listening to this thinking and that's, well, it's not what my family office feels like, then you know exactly where the work starts. Don't lament over that. Do the things you need to do to be excellent, and don't wait. Start right now. Yeah, like the cost is enormous. The complexity is enormous. It's going to bear the weight. Why settle for anything other than extraordinary? Why tolerate meetings that produce no decisions? Why fund bureaucracy? It's disgusting. Why allow accumulated mediocrity to persist in an organization that probably takes millions and millions and millions upon millions of dollars to run, depending on the size of the family? The families that get this right build something that survives them, something that compounds, a word that I keep on coming back to, across the generations, something worthy of the family that effectively, in my example of the single family office, that was built to serve. And the families that don't, I mean, they might have had the resources, they had the opportunity, think about it, and they chose comfort over excellence. Well, Brian Adams, thank you very much for sparking this. And let's keep pushing it. I do not have all the answers. I have way more questions, and every family is so different. Everyone, I'm Angelo Robles. Welcome to my @family office across many of my socials, and of course my YouTube, X, and my LinkedIn profile. Those of you could go to angelorobles.com and learn more, being truly a member. We just got 3 new members in the last 7 days, incredible families from around the world. We are very much a global organization. I travel the world, Europe, Mexico, LATAM, so many different areas. Was going to do the Middle East. We'll see if that's still going to happen a little bit later in the year. I do have relationships there, including in Asia. So going to angelorobles.com and looking into membership, looking into our resources, what we provide, my proprietary content, books, resources, AI Family Office Masterclass, exclusive programming. I'm not about size or scale. I'm relatively intimate. Some of our best meetings, private dinners, and boardrooms and AI masterclasses that we do are under 10 people. Imagine being immersed with incredible peers, bringing up subjects like this. And this is a subject that I kind of tested out in some of my presentations in Los Angeles. And the families are at the edge of their seats. See, it's not only AI, although that is important to this subject that I talk about, or only geopolitics or investing. The dynamics within a family, family office operations, family office structures, global issues. Oh, there's so much. Isn't it just so exciting? And really, nearest and dearest to my heart still is effectively the things that I spoke about today, and sparking me to think about these things differently and restructure some of my thinking. Being a poker player, I never want to get caught in echo chambers and I always have the answer. It's only one way. It's complex. And henceforth, that's why I love and am passionate about what I do. And there's so many talented people like Brian and others that are doing incredible work that cause me to think differently and cause me to spark my innermost first principles thinking. And a lot of the insights that I shared with you today, some of it from my family office playbook, my billionaire mastermind book, and even my AI integration in family offices. So my proprietary books are exclusive to my members, but you got some of that insight sharing tonight. I hope that you all enjoyed it. Well, thank you. Some very kind comments from some of you in various streams. One or two of you texted me as well, trying to keep off the grids, aren't you? Well, again, thank you. I hope you all had a chance to enjoy it. And again, if you don't take action, which 99.9% of people won't, like you're not really pushing towards excellence and knowing that you may need some handholding in terms of getting there. And sure, getting content in social media and broadly in forums that you don't pay for, you may get some value out of that here and there. You're often just wasting your time. And it's not going to lead you down a path of excellence. You need something more curated that has more specific proprietary intellectual rigor and value, someone that challenges you, isn't there to kiss your butt. I mean, come on, I love doing debates, so going back and forth. And by the way, if anyone disagrees on some of the things from today, I don't have all the answers. Share them, be open, be blunt. And maybe at a program or something, if you want to actively discuss or debate them, I could definitely be down. I like it. Not that I like to be combative, although I probably do have a little bit of that in me, I guess some people would say. But simply go to angelorobles.com and take the action of being a member. Like I said this weekend, we're heading into a real incredible period. All my proprietary books have been updated. We're weeks away from the AI Family Office Masterclass, June 23rd and 24th, in-person, immersive in New York with the most incredible instructors, and putting you on a path before we even hit July 4th, where you're going to have such an incredible edge. Did you watch my programming over the weekend where I actually did like a 60-slide PowerPoint? I think it's still up on some of my socials. Like that was a lot of good content relative to AI. I probably some of the most outreaches that I've ever had. So I appreciate all of you. Keep it coming. We have a very, very busy summer. I'll be in New York multiple times, mainly in Greenwich, a little bit of Jackson Hole, Wyoming, a little bit of Newport. So all over the place, and got a busy, busy schedule. And most of it is up on my angelorobles.com. So I look forward to seeing you as a member. Go to angelorobles.com. Keep the questions and comments coming in. I appreciate all of you. Have a great day.